Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I want to welcome you to the Engaged Employee Podcast. Our mission is to emphasize the relationship between the employee and the workplace with the goal of enhancing engagement levels to create a more productive and satisfying work environment. While many organizations strive to create a more engaging atmosphere, they often miss the mark by forcing connection with big team building events like axe throwing or escape rooms. Those activities only leave employees with a short-lived sense of belonging. Organizations may also try smaller and more suffocating events like happy hours or group birthday celebrations that their employees feel obligated to attend. As a social connections and business culture coach, I've found that to create a stable, engaged, and productive workforce, there needs to be a shift in focus from mandatory fun and manufactured connection towards building trust and authentic conversation. Join me and a guest as we dive into social wellness strategies for the individual employee, techniques for developing interpersonal relationships with coworkers, and even some approaches for leaders to enrich the overall organizational culture. The Engaged Employee Podcast starts now. Hello and welcome to the Engaged Employee Podcast. My name is Coach Lee and my guest today is Liz Herrera. Liz is the owner of Liz Career Coaching LLC, where she empowers her clients to achieve their unique goals using a strength-based approach. With over 17 years of experience in career development, Liz has been recognized as a top 15 coach in Chicago by Influence Digest in 2024 and 2022. She also hosts the Liz Career Coaching Podcast, ranked the top 5% globally. And I was a guest on that podcast, I'm proud to say. Absolutely amazing. As a director of career development for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Illinois, Chicago, she works with university students and oversees career readiness initiatives for undergraduates. Her office earned the Career Readiness Excellence Award from the National Association of Colleges and Employers for a course that she developed. Give it up. Liz holds multiple career coaching certifications and a Master of Arts in Higher Education. Our conversation today will be focused on individual self-care strategies for employees. Liz, welcome to the Engaged Employee Podcast.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Coach Lee.
I'm so glad to have you here. What an awesome resume. What an amazing resume. Yes, you have done it all. It seems like from my perspective, you have really, really conquered this career development world.
I hope so. I mean, it's a journey and I'm still taking part in it and figuring out what's next.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all we're doing. I think that's what life is in the first place. And that's why we're going to stop. We're going to talk about these individual self-care strategies for individuals to help them on their journey. So I want to ask you, tell me more about your profession as a career coach and how did you find yourself doing this particular job?
Yeah, so I have always been in the field of education. So I've been in the field of education for over 20 years. I've worked with high school students, college students, non-traditional college students, established professionals, and I always found myself providing support in career development, even when it was not my role. So people would come to me with, asking for advice on, their career aspirations, building their resume, preparing them for a job interview. And I always had a knack for that. And I loved reading all things career development. And so the University of Illinois, Chicago had an opening for a career advising position. And I applied. I used my skills that I learned on my own.
Absolutely.
And, I was surprised, honestly, when I got the call to interview and then to be offered the position. And so that was in 2007. And I absolutely fell in love with career development, career services. And so I have been in the profession for 17 years, as you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Been building upon my expertise and just working with students, but also with established professionals in helping them find the confidence to pave their unique career path and to design the career that they want so they can find fulfillment in what aligns with their professional identity.
Yes, and that is super important to note. Like you always had a knack for doing this, which is great. I think people walk around and they have these special skills that you just don't know, and you found yours, and you really help people with that. Because one of the things that happens, I think, especially because I can speak from this American experience, right, where we're in this culture where it says these are the things that you need to do to succeed, and pick a job that pays. Just pick a job that don't think about how you feel about being an accountant. You will feel better when you add up those numbers. And that's not quite true, right? We
Mhm.
need some help and support and guidance. There's no one out there to really tell us, hey, perhaps this doesn't fit. This doesn't feel good. So, who are your clients? I know you talked about working with a myriad of different people, but today, who are your clients and how do you help them discover more about what really feels good for them?
Yeah, so outside of my role at the university, where I'm working with undergraduate students and helping them discover themselves, major exploration, career exploration, I have my own private career coaching practice where I work with established professionals, mid level professionals that are seeking to make a career pivot, or maybe they're ready to launch their job search or they're looking for career clarity. And so I work with individuals in just helping them build that confidence to really recognize what it is that they really want to do. As you mentioned earlier, it's not so much about following the path that they thought they had to follow because of external pressure, societal expectations, but really people that are thinking like, okay, I'm at a crossroad here. I have been in this role for a long time. I'm not fulfilled. I don't find joy. This isn't quite the fit for me. And so when I work with clients, we kind of really take a step back and go through that exploration, that self discovery. I like to do a strengths based assessment called Clifton Strengths, where we use a strengths based approach to just help people recognize their true strengths, where they thrive, where they find fulfillment, and then I just walk them through a number of exercises depending on their unique need and experience. So that way we can come up with a plan to get them, to propel them forward into what they want to actually do.
Yes, I heard of the Clifton Strengths.
Yes.
I've heard of that, and I think it's a very powerful tool to help discover what we're good at and what I think it's more like the strengths that we have and the top half of the strengths, which are our strongest strength, and our bottom half of the strengths, which are not as strong strengths. Essentially, not to say that there's a weakness about you, it's just a skill that is not particularly powerful for you. You don't really excel in it. And so I'd be curious to know when your clients come to you, or you've ever had a client who had discovered that, oh, wow, I did not know that I was good at this. And so I like it. What do I do next? Does anyone come to you and discovered that?
Oh,
How do you help
yes.
them?
Yeah, so when you take Clifton Strains, your themes fall into particular buckets. So I've had clients where their themes are aligned a lot with relationship building, and their current job has nothing to do with working with people or building relationships. And so we've had those discussions where we kind of think back like, what does your day-to-day look like? What fills your cup? And when they disclose or really come to the realization that they're not really doing things that fulfill them or bring them joy, that's when we kind of take a step back and really think about, okay, what do you see yourself doing? What are some things that you would want to do that would bring you joy, that would allow you to use your strengths in relationship building, or executing or strategic thinking? And then that's when other tools come into play in terms of exploration, but strengths is a great starting point.
Absolutely. That realization is everything. And what I do appreciate is that you don't just leave them there in the realization like, oh, I'm in the wrong space. You really help them get to the next space through your coaching. And also, I noticed you have a coaching guide that helps them. Can you tell us about it? I think it's steps for your to begin your job search. Can you tell
Yeah,
us a bit about what that is?
I like to, yes, it's a quick guide, steps to your job search. A lot of times people dive into a job search where they're just applying for jobs, right? Or they're like, I'm going to update my resume because I'm ready to apply for a job. But when I work with clients, it is definitely more of a transformational journey where it begins with self-discovery, looking into what you actually want to do before you dive into any aspects of the job search. So I do have a quick guide that just walks people through what the steps can look like when you enter the job search process. And those are steps that I work with clients, so that way they can feel more intentional and have that support as they're going through different aspects of that journey.
Yes, because it is one thing to know it. I bet that anyone could grab the guide and get started on it, but it's another thing to have someone help you and support you because this is all new territory. It's all a new exploration, and to have someone who's worked with you, worked in this field for 17 years, guiding you will save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to figure out how to implement this best as you can. But it's there for a free source to be able to help you out at your website. And we'll drop that. I think it's lizcareercoaching.net. We'll
That's
drop
correct.
all of that in the show notes too as well. But I do have another question for you because I always want to leave my audience with something actionable. And I know you have coaching that focuses on empathy and strengths, but is there something that you could leave my audience with? Let's say they're in a position in which they aren't sure that they like what they do, but they don't have real strong feelings against it or for it. They're just kind of not sure. How can they get on track and understand more about what the next step might be for them?
Yeah, I think depending on the level of where they're at, definitely working with a career coach can really help in untangle or brainstorm, having an accountability partner or a mentor. If that's not available to you, I would say definitely start with, there's a lot of online resources, assessments. ONET Profiler has an assessment that you can take to explore your interests, just to kind of get started to see what might be out there. But really, the biggest takeaway is that self exploration piece is really getting to know yourself. What drives you? What are your skills? What are your interests? What are your values? There are also
Mm,
free online values tools. That's kind of where I start with my clients. Like, what are your non negotiables? What do you care about in this phase in your life? Because that's going to help you make informed decisions with the job search, the career path, but also I know you talk a lot about building relationships,
hmm
the type of professional associations or circles or networking events that you want to pursue. When you know yourself, that is your compass in making informed decisions in terms of what's next.
So I want to touch on this right here, this idea of networking before you start applying for jobs. Is that what I heard?
That is a great strategy. Yes.
Oh, wow, that's it sounds like, well, once you discover more about yourself, then you put yourself in those places where you can connect with other people. And if you want to have a more engaging job where you're talking to more people, building those relationships, then honor that value. Honor that value and don't revert back to the place that you were before. If you're not interested in having your head down at a desk every single day and you'd rather be more interested in talking to people or having interesting conversations, then honor that. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. That's right.
Yes. So, Liz, it was a pleasure to talk to you today. Now, I don't want to leave my audience lost and confused because they already fell in love with you. They're very excited to work with you. Tell us where we can find you.
Yes. So I am at lizcareercoaching.net. You can find information about me and also my coaching packages and my approach. So that's the first place that you can find me. You can also find me on Instagram at Liz Career Coaching. That's where I share content, updates on my podcast and my guests, and just quick tips on interview and all things career development. And last but not least, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I share job opportunities, I share anything career related. I'm on there and I'm pretty proactive. So connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yes, definitely. That's where I connected with Liz on LinkedIn, and I scheduled a 20-minute conversation with her. And you can do the very same. Have a 20-minute consultation, talk to her, learn more about what you can do to grow your career. If you're in a company or if you're in a business where you feel stuck and you're not quite sure what to do, Liz is a career coach, been doing it naturally for 17 years, naturally, but professionally for 17 years, but naturally for a lot longer, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for our conversation. It was a joy to talk to you. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Another insightful episode of the Engaged Employee Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive into the world of employee engagement, leadership, and workplace dynamics. The Engaged Employee Podcast is brought to you by the Patterns of Possibility, where we help people make more meaningful relationships in both their personal and professional life. Before we wrap up, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our incredible guests and, of course, our loyal listeners. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you valuable content each week. If you found today's discussion thought-provoking and want to learn more about how we can help you or your organization make more meaningful relationships, go to patternsofpossibility.com and book a friendly conversation with me. Or you can email me your questions at patternsofpossibility@gmail.com. Stay connected with us and engage with fellow listeners by following the Patterns of Possibility on LinkedIn. You can also catch us on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to stay in the loop. And if you prefer the audio version, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your support means the world to us, and by subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. Thank you for being a part of our journey to create workplaces where passion meets productivity. Until next time, I'm Coach Lee. Stay engaged, stay inspired.